How we doing? All right. We still energized. I like it. That's okay. Welcome everyone to the world of Lovely Ink. Today we're joined by the creative minds behind some of the most heartfelt and immersive otome experiences. Kayla Michelle and Yana Raven. As the founders of Lovely Ink, they pour their passion into bringing true romance games that are as engaging as they are memorable. So please give a round of applause for Kayla and Raven, please.
Hi, I'm Yana.
I'm Kayla. Nice to meet everybody.
Awesome. Thank you guys for showing up. We appreciate you guys. So for those that are unfamiliar, please break down what are otome games?
So in Japan, in Japanese, otome means maiden, so it's anything female focused, but in the West, people pretty much recognize it as romance games for women.
What exactly is Lovely Ink? Can you break that down?
Lovely Ink is both Kayla and I, and we founded our company back in 2019 and building the original Snowkissed, and we've just kind of been working together building out the brand. We have 2 games. One's coming out next month as a demo, and My Love For You Is Evermore, which is on the App Store. We're just cultivating, making more and more stories. And we also have a YouTube channel called Latte and Foam, where we talk about everything otome, breaking it down. So if you don't follow us, you should follow us on there too, so you can enter the discussion. That's how we kind of got into the community for otome. There were so many people we didn't even know were out there. So we just decided to put our thoughts out there and see if anybody liked it, and they did.
Nice. And actually, speaking of which, if you could break down, what is Snowkissed Romance?
So Snowkissed Romance is the demo that's coming out next month.
Wow. Somebody looks nice tonight.
Rise and grind, brothers. You look Betty as hell.
My heart is racing.
Nothing. Never mind, okay?
Come see me in Yukihari this winter.
We have a booth over there with some of the art from the game and guys you can take photos with. But basically, it's set in the 90s, and it is inspired by classic Japanese otome games like Tokimeki Memorial and Angelique, if anyone's played those. So instead of just a traditional visual novel, it's adding a stop-building element and some gameplay. And a couple of unique features that we have is one, you can be either female, male, or non-binary, which is pretty new in this space. It's also voiced, you can choose your zodiac sign, and we also have a personality development system that I'll let Yana kind of talk about.
Yeah, so in the personality development system, you'll be basically making smart choices where as you go on, your personality develops. So in one gameplay, you can be very shy, the next one confident, the other one a little bit more athletic type, all those kinds of things. And you can also choose your blood type, and it's just really you at the center of the game. So what's also unique is a lot of otome games now you see the main character, but in this one it's truly from your point of view, and you're building your own world as you go along, and you're choosing over the next 3 weeks of your winter vacation, building out your world. So yeah.
Planning your day is a huge part of it, so every time block of the day you'll be able to choose what you want to do at the resort, whether it's go skiing, get some cocoa, and who you want to do it with. So if you want to go with one guy, 2 guys, the whole group, or just your friends or alone, it's really up to you.
Okay, all right. And how would you say classic otome games influenced your approach, and how do you balance paying homage to them while also innovating your story of your own?
Yeah, so classic otome games like Angelique and Tokimeki, and even contemporary ones from like Voltage or even Dream Life, have always shaped our view of like romance and how we build and story writing. But it also has left a space where we want to innovate there, and we're going to continue that journey by adding more innovative things like picking your gender, like picking your personality, and those gameplay elements that just don't exist in the West yet. So yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges you guys have faced while creating the otome game?
So challenges, I would probably say just time and experience working at it. I I think I started back in 2017 trying to make something, and we joined forces in 2019, and we've always worked full-time during that time as well, so it's nights and weekends. So I would say, yeah, there's just not enough time in the day sometimes, and also just the experience of getting to know the industry and how things work.
Okay. And how do you come up with unique storylines and love interests to stand out in this genre?
A lot of that is really just taking weeks and weeks of work of rewriting, because I feel like writing is always rewriting your work. So we'll come up with concepts, we're playing games and saying what we like and don't like, and then we write it together, and then we'll say like, yeah, I love that, yeah, I hated that, and just fixing it until we get something perfect. And that's kind of great, because we had a first release of Snowkissed back in 2019 that we're re-releasing now, and it's just a completely different game, different everything, because we've grown so much, not only as writers, but as developers, marketing, everything has come so full circle now, so we're so proud of ourselves to create what Snowkissed is now.
You're able to kind of have the hindsight moment from 2019 to now to say, like, these things need to be adjusted and so forth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Add to that too, like one of the things that's different then versus now that we do to really build out the characters is their whole backstory. So we think, what are their parents, where did they grow up, what happened to them when they were younger? Even if you're not going to see that in the game, it's so important to ensure we have a total character versus something that's more one-note.
Awesome, okay, great answer. All right. Can you talk about your process in creating like romantic scenarios in the game?
Do you want to take this one?
Okay, so we come up with kind of concept scenarios first, and then we build it from there. And if we don't like it, it doesn't stay. And we both build it together. I think we're stronger together. We've in the past wrote just single, one route one, and you can definitely tell in the old games. But we've decided that together we're just so much more powerful. You can tell, Kayla and I have been best friends for 20 plus years, and business partners, it just makes sense. So everything we do is just together, and we can lean on each other. And it's like, I feel like if I'm missing something, she's always right there to back me up. And I feel like I hope I do the same for her.
Definitely do. I feel like too, it's just, like she said, us sitting right next to each other and going through line by line and just reading it out loud, acting it out is really important to build the scenarios for us. We can see if it sounds natural out loud.
I love that. You guys, that's so sweet. How do you balance working on multiple routes?
Well, the great thing about having multiple routes is when when you're doing something and you're just constantly doing it, you can almost get what is a burnout, and we can go into a different route. And kind of to what Kayla's point saying earlier, when we're building the characters, we're building out dialogue they might say to each other, and so it helps because we add this element of just like, oh, well, maybe we should work this for them. And so instead of working to burn out, we can switch to something else. And I feel like that's what makes it so fun, because even though this is our work, it's our passion, so we have so much fun doing it, so it never feels like we can stop,
Yeah, I would say too, like the practice scenarios that you mentioned, we'll have the characters, we'll say, okay, if they just went into a coffee shop right now, what would happen? And that kind of helps with the burnout and balancing the multiple different routes.
Nice. Okay. How important do you feel representation is in otome game?
For me and for our company, it's extremely important. And like I mentioned earlier, with the MCs always showing up on screen, as a proud Black and Latino woman, I don't see myself represented that way. And it's so important that this game does that, not only in the way that your personality is shaped, in the way that you're treating your blood type, and having the ability to build out that personality. I feel like we wanted to be that representation for that, because I always felt like there wasn't a seat at the table, and I've always said, there's not a seat at that table, you go make your own, and that's what we're doing.
Love that. Awesome. Okay. How did you decide on the right background music and the voice actors for the game? That's very important, obviously.
Yeah, especially for Snowkissed, since it is set in the 90s, we took a lot of inspiration from some of our favorite shoujo 90s anime, like Marmalade Boy, Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura. Listen to those tracks, and then also, like we said, with building the personalities of the character, when we work with a composer, we give them the whole personality, we give them samples, and that's kind of what helps build that sound for the music. Do you want to answer for the voice actors?
Yeah, so for the voice actors, we're creating dialogue for things, making sure we're getting the right slang and stuff. So when we're doing that, we're listening to all the voice actors' reels to see if it can be totally possible, because you never know until you're there. So when we were working with KG Tang, who's playing Yo Moriano in the game, we wanted to make sure he was like a skater guy from the 90s, so we had to make sure he could really truly fit that. And that goes for all of the voice actors, because if their personality doesn't match the voice, it's not going to come across. It's not just in the facial expressions, it's how they sound. And so, yeah, it's super important.
Okay. And going down that same path, like how does music and the vocal work shape the mood of the game?
Yeah, I feel like for the music, this is like a little tidbit. So each guy has their own theme song, but not only that, the theme song will have different parts where it's going to be sad and all this. So you'll know when it's a sad moment because their songs will change and stuff. And I feel like that definitely sets the mood. I know when you've all like watched TV and you're like, oh, I know drama's going to happen because the music happens, especially in the 90s with those powerful rock ballads all of a sudden. So
yeah, definitely. The different arrangements for the character is like one of my favorite things. And then also, we're really inspired by the seasons. Obviously, Snowkissed is a winter game. It takes place in winter. So that kind of helps us to shape the mood as well with the tone that we want for the music.
What role does art play in setting the tone for the tone?
I feel like a huge role, especially because it's 90s again, and we really wanted to get that 90s vibe. If you check out our booth right there, you can kind of see it's from the color palette to the style of art and the way that it's drawn. It's hugely important to make you feel immersed.
yeah, I'd agree. I feel like we did a lot of research. I mean, we even set the game based off of like my birth year and her birth year, looking up all type of references, even down to the drinks. We would not select them if they weren't already existing in that world. So we did a lot of things. So
I'm hoping there's Zima in the game.
yes.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. How do you work with artists to achieve a distinct look for them?
We are giving as many references as possible, the description, the personality, and trying to find any and everything we can to get to them, because the same way with us, sometimes we even don't know what we want and giving them that creative freedom. You know, when we were coming up with the characters and we said, like, this is generally what we want. And our character artist, Jane, she just came up with 5 different options, and it was so great to have that, because sometimes you just don't know what you want until you see it, and that always works for us, so yeah.
And can you talk about how building a character's personality helps create connections to the game and for players?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Like, we do the whole entire backstory for the character, and then what their personality is based on that. And then with Snowkissed specifically, because you can shape your own personality, it's not just one fixed main character personality. We have to then think, okay, so would our character Rin get along with somebody who's flirtatious or somebody who's more shy or more confident? All of those things come into play, and I think that's what really makes it feel like a real relationship that you're in.
Awesome. All right, if you don't mind, I want to switch things up a little bit and get the audience involved. If you guys are cool with that. If anybody has any questions for them, they can line up at the podium and I'll come down there and read them. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'll buy some time to ask you guys a question, actually. What would you say is the most telling experience through this? Like, now that you're going into the second game, like starting out, like, and what's something that you can kind of explain for like someone who's budding, you know, trying to get into the game industry that they can learn from you guys?
I would say definitely have patience with yourself. It's a lot of long nights, hard times sometimes, and I feel like having, you know, the right partner and things, because, you know, not all the time do we always agree, and it's having that safe space to be able to disagree with each other and build from that. I think it's also being able to look back and say, like, yo, that was not me now, and I would never do that again. I also feel like really building into the community, you know, through our YouTube channel, through Twitter and all of that, and really being able to connect with the fans, because we're fans of otome ourselves. So we're not just like this faceless company. We are otome players. And so, yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome. Questions?
Hi, big fan. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your advice for women looking to get into the industry, and also how you guys have new mentors and advice, since this is still obviously a male-dominated space.
I would feel like the best way to do that too is to really we did some research too, starting off with like visual novel engines like Rempy, Unity has so many awesome things. There's so many, like Discord and stuff has all of that stuff there, and that's building out the community that you want. I think that's how we found it as well.
Yeah, and I would say also, like you said about building the community, that is such a good way to get into the space, especially connecting with other women who play these games. And that was huge for us, because we have our own idea of what is the perfect game, but we really learned so much from talking to the whole community and seeing what they're missing from the market.
I have a question, actually. What would you say, like, in terms of like bringing in the 90s aesthetic, like you guys put it earlier, what challenges did you guys face, and like what things you couldn't include, if any, through this process? Because I know the aesthetic and the music and all that, but is there anything that you guys had a hard time trying to bring and also kind of like keep fresh?
Well, I feel like some things we didn't, like we in our mind knew existed but didn't or didn't exist yet. And so like a huge thing is of course like how you communicate, because we all have smartphones now and stuff. So we kind of innovated, and in the game, the guy characters and your friends can leave you messages on a little Tamagotchi type thing. So I think it's less of what we could include and like how would we make it possible, and kind of giving everybody that opportunity, because there's also 2 secret characters and making it that engaging. But really it's just due to like a lot of research and what we can and can't do, you know?
So hi. So I've played both of your games before, and I was wondering, out of all the characters that you've created, which one has been the most fun to write? Have you written any of them together, or is it just like one of you writes one character, one of you writes another?
I would say as manager's our favorite. He is a secret character in My Love Freeze Evermore. We actually wrote him together. I'm gonna tell a funny story. When we created manager, like the synopsis for him, driving in the car for 20 minutes, came up with him and then built him from there. Before we kind of wrote them separate, so in the original Snowkissed, they were all separate. Going forward now, everything is absolutely together. So yeah.
And I would say it's funny because the person who voices manager, KG Tang, he also voices Yo in Snowkissed. And I think Yo's probably my favorite that we write in Snowkissed because he has a lot of funny skater slang from the 90s.
Thank you. My question is, what are some of the new features in Snowkissed that you're both most excited for us to see?
Oh, there's so many features. Okay, so you can stat build. So when you start the game, you're going to take a quiz and automatically get some stats for athleticism, elegance, all of those great things. And as you go through the game, you'll earn and lose points by doing anything in the hat, like taking a bath, going to the onsen, and you can also play a cafe game. I feel like those are super cool. And as you're going with the guys, those stats will make a difference in your dialogue. You can also plan your day. So in the demo, you wake up in the morning, you can plan up to 4 activities a day. And then one of your activities, you can choose to go down to the cafe and play a mini cafe game. 5 seconds to remember the recipe, try to make the game, but if you don't remember, you'll be asked to clock out and go home.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm really excited about is, like you said, having those points. Like, so for example, if your athleticism is really high and you go to the slopes with someone, you're going to be like competitive with him and kill it. But if you have really low athleticism, he's probably going to be teaching you how to snowboard or ski. And another cool thing with the dates is you don't have to settle for just one guy. You can ask 2 and do a harem style.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, ladies. I'd like to ask you what you anticipate as far as the West adoption of otome. Because I see that you're such pioneers, and I love the 90s, man. So I grew up there. Fantastic work so far, but can you share with all of us what's the buzz? Where's the excitement? And why you're doing this? Because I think you're on something hot here.
Yeah, it is. Otome is so popular right now, and I think it's just going to get more and more popular, and that's where we want to fit in, because gaming world in general is still such a male-dominated sphere, but it's time for the women to step up, and that's what we're here to do, and add that piece there. So I think it's only going to get more and more popular for now, and I'm so glad to hopefully be on that side of history with it.
Yeah, too, and if I can just add, as popular as otome is, there's still so many popular franchises that have not been brought over to the West. And we've even seen companies like Ruby Party from Angelique state that they're not going to localize. So that leaves a gap in the market for us to come in and create those games that have that fun stat building element that we don't see in the Western market right now.
Hi. So not to be the astrology nerd or anything, but I'm super curious since you mentioned the zodiac signs. Is that gonna like actually affect the relationships between characters?
Absolutely.
Is there any way you can expand on that? Because I'm super curious.
Yes, so they all have their zodiac, and it's also your blood type as well. So when your zodiac is being chosen, it's going to affect, your personality types, your points that you get from the system as well. And the guys will have different sets as well. So let's say, Shiro, who's a Scorpio, and you're, opposite of him, you guys will probably clash, but who knows? He's a little bit of a tsundere, so he might like that.
probably about 10 points that get spread across the different stats based on your zodiac sign, and then the same thing with your blood type, so that creates something a little bit unique. But then on top of that, we have a quiz, a personality quiz with scenario questions, so that adds another layer to move your stats. And then throughout the game, if you're choosing to do certain things, like if you're always going to go shred on the slopes, athleticism is going to slowly build. If you're always going to the bookstore, intelligence is going to slowly build. If you're always ice skating, elegance builds. So it doesn't like stop there with the zodiac, but it's definitely a good starting point.
Hi. I was wondering how many endings there would be and what the estimated gameplay time is, or how long it would take to complete to 100%. And is there going to be achievements?
We don't know how many endings are yet because we're still working on that, but there are going to be a ton. So you can get harem endings, jealousy endings, solo endings, there are friendship endings, group endings. You can also, there's town lore that's happening. You can have bad endings. So there's like so many possibilities right now. We don't have a set number. There's hours and hours of gameplay because you can get a different ending every single time you play the game. And there's 3 weeks inside the game, and you're planning basically up to 5 to 6 activities potentially a day. So there's so many hours that you can invest in it. And so yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say there's also a lot of replayability with it because we have an RNG element, which is random number generation. So maybe in one playthrough, you load up and somebody comes to your door and asks you to do something, but if you load up again, that doesn't happen. So you can have very different experiences every playthrough.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. And thank you, Kayla and Yana, so much. Everybody give them a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
Blazing a trail for otome games and for women in gaming in general. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
I need more energy. Come on, guys. That's what I'm.
Thank you so much. That's lovely. The lovely ladies at Lovely Game.
Come see me in Yukihari this winter.